Now playing the Artist for Artist podcast.
In a world full of podcasts, three brothers decide to change the game. This year, see the podcast that everyone's calling amazing.
Artist for artists, artist for artists, to artists for artists.
This is the Artist for Artists podcast with your hosts James, CJ, and Hennessy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Artist for Artists podcast, a place where we discuss all of our values and our knowledge in music and everything that is music and entertainment and just our views on just this whole media industry, period. And right now, today, I got my boys. I got CJ here with me. I got Henny with me. And we're here, honestly, to talk about industry protocol, right? And if there's necessarily a way for artists to like get into the business, and then is there like a guideline to being successful? Because to me, I feel like back in the day when an artist really wanted to become number one and become successful and stuff like that, the big goal was to get under a label, right? Because the label had all the bread, the label had all the pull, the label had all the connections.
Yep.
So now do you feel like music, like the industry even has like a certain protocol or guideline in this day and age of being successful and being number one and making it happen? Because if you think about in history terms, for an artist to even get radio play, you know what I mean, and get placements and stuff like that, like all of that costs bread.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
All of that costs bread. You know what I mean? Like just to break out an artist, I think like if an artist just had one song just to get like radio playing.
It's like 15, right? 15, 20. Hey, what up?
If you want to get to like a number one, it's like maybe 125 to 150K.
Six figures.
You understand what I mean? And that's one song. So I'm saying, you know, that's why back then everybody was like, I gotta get on a label. Like, you know what I mean? Because that's the machine, that's the money or whatever the case is. So I'm asking now, do you think that there's a protocol in the industry now?
I think that there's a protocol, but it's multiple ways to skin a cat, right? Like I think that as an artist, you still have the big machine way, right? You still have that. It's still there. So if you go there, you have to be associated with what's needed in protocol to make that line. You know what I mean? As an independent artist, there's probably like two ways, right? I have money and investors that's going to help me push, and then the streets. You know, just building the clientele. What is his name? L.A. Russell?
La Russell,
right?
Great. Love him. Big fan.
I watched a lot of his videos, and his protocol was to, like, all right, I'm gonna release this, I'm gonna do this a certain way, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get it on this SoundCloud, I'm gonna push this, you know. So there's always a protocol, a scheme to it. It's just, you have to know which way you want to go.
Okay. And now
So I think there is a protocol, but it's changed. I think it's definitely changed from having to rely on a label as much as you did back in the day, just because I think independent artists have the ability to do a lot of the things that the label would do for them on their own, if they can get the right funding, if they can get the correct backing. But there is one thing that I think that that's incredible protocol is artist development. I think that is something that's never changed. Like, you have to be able to develop the artists and make sure that they're in the right audiences, that they're tapping into their core audience, their target audience. That's kind of what my view would be on that.
Yeah, because, you know, and also even with artists themselves, I feel like they have to do themselves justice of even learning the business side of it too.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's very hard for artists to do that. It's been hard for me to do that at times.
Yeah.
Where it's like an artist is wearing so many different hats, where you are the artist, you are the business person, especially as, you know, an independent artist. You're handling everything. You're handling the business aspect, you're handling the music, you're handling how things are being distributed. You're pretty much, if you don't have a team behind you or the money, you literally have to have the drive, because you have to outwork everybody who may have it or who does. You know what I mean? And for some artists, they work so hard and they think that maybe they're not as talented, when really, one, you just may not be as knowledgeable as you should and understand the business aspect of things too, and knowing what you're getting into firsthand when it comes down to the industry.
That was my pitfall.
Because the industry is a business no matter how you slice it. Whether you are behind a label or not, it's still a business. So you have to put those factors into, okay, now if I'm going to be an independent artist or be behind a label, how do I still become number one? Now there's other streams that are available now that it wasn't before, like TikTok and all of that, but all of that stuff is changing too.
Which is now unavailable because of what Universal
The
did
UMG music,
with
yeah.
UMG music. So, I didn't mean to cut you off, RJ. It's just, it's odd for me. Like, you know, I'll lean on one side where it's like, okay, as an independent artist, this was the protocol, right? And then I'll think like, okay, for instance, like A4A, but what A4A did, right? He wasn't signed to no major label. He later on decided probably to sign, I'm not sure, but I seen an interview with him and his manager, his team, the guys that were behind him, who had the funding a little bit. I don't know where they got it from, but they had a little bit of the funding. But they also hustled and made sure, like, okay, are we using the tools that are around us? How do we use them and how can we benefit from them? A lot of the times, like, people go, okay, well, we're just gonna upload to Spotify, right? But then you don't know about super fans. But then you don't know about taking the business side of it, which be Facebook marketing. And what they did that was really interesting was, I think he was one of the first to do it. They uploaded the songs to Spotify, looked at the metrics on it and said, okay, well, we have this many super fans in Boston, right? So we're gonna go to Boston, we're gonna go sell tickets in Boston before we even make it there. Sell tickets, let them know in Boston by using Facebook ads and stuff like that, just targeting those people and saying, okay, well, A4A's opening it up here in this venue of 150 people. So we're gonna sell 200 tickets and try to sell 200 tickets for that venue and then show the venue that. And then he went on tour and then that's how it started, his own tour kind of, and that's how he started to build that. And then when I said it was two sides of it, I'm like, okay, but he didn't really do anything different because that's kind of what Hov and Dame did, you know? So it's like, I think it relates to your determination, your drive, and nothing is going to stop me. My knowledge of the industry is not going to stop me, nor my hustle, nor my tiredness. You know, and the minute that you understand that it's not about talent is probably when you're going to succeed.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about independent versus the label route, I think that what it really comes down to is, you know, if you want to go fast, you could do it alone. But if you really want to go far, you're gonna have a team behind you, right? That's what it's gonna take. And a lot of the times,
well said, bro.
If you're looking at, you know, I recently saw an interview with NBA Youngboy. He's one of the top streamed artists the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And Cosmic Kev, that was an interview. Cosmic Kev asked him, he's like, so why haven't you like gone independent? Like, you have this fan base, everything is here. And his response was that he doesn't have the team around him. He doesn't feel he has the correct team around him to keep what he has going. And that even though he has the fan base, even though he drops some great music, even though he's one of the top streamed, he even knows that without this label team, this could all fall apart. So that's kind of like, you know, when you look at it like that, that's another angle too.
Well, that's always, shout out to Drink Champs. But that's always Nori's thing, right? His and the other DJ, I know his name, so I remember right now.
Effin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
is that his name?
Rosen?
No, on Drink Champs.
Oh, on Drink Champs.
I think it
Yeah,
is Effin.
yeah, I think
But
it's Effin.
the light skinned dude?
Yeah,
I think
Santa
that's-
Claus.
Yeah.
He always argues independent, and Nori's always arguing label, and that's Nori's thing. It was like, dude, I'm not smart enough to do this. And he's like, but you have what you have already, so you can kind of monetize for that. But like overall, like it also boils down to trust, right? Like when I was actively trying to be an artist years ago, I was trying to develop a team, and I also was dealing with artists, with the labels. And it was tough, right? Because I'm a creative person first, right? And I like to live my truths in my music. And unfortunately, going the label route, you cannot do that. I've just watched the documentary, which was the Run DMC documentary. And if you didn't watch this I think it's on Paramount or Peacock. It's really good, check it out. But DMC's and Run's problems was more so like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this way. We have this. My brother is Russell, and all this other stuff. And DMC's pitfall was that he couldn't release music.
Yeah.
He said, I wrote this dope ass rhyme last night. And I can't do nothing with it for 9 to 10 months, or when the label tells me, and all this other stuff. So, again, for me, it just boils down to it. What kind of artist are you, right? Yeah. When it's you, when you're the artist. If you're like the manager, whatever, that's different. But when you're the artist, what kind of artist are you? Are you comfortable with taking the leverage from somebody who's in the industry, a suit, or whatever the case may be? If you are, then that's fine. Or if you're an artist who just wants to stay true, independent.
But it all comes down to, like you said, that. But then also, if you have a big label pushing you and stuff like that, of course, it's going to come with shaking the hand. One hand washes the other. You're going to have to do this, but then, we take this. I think even back in the day, because you had mentioned DJs and stuff like that too. If you didn't have the necessary means to like pay for stuff, you know what I mean, or to get on the radio and things like that, that networking and community and going out and building relationships with people, you'll be surprised. Like, there's people who can call somebody up that's on the radio station right now that's an independent artist and say, hey, I have a record, would you mind X, Y, and Z? And based off of your history on networking, building relationships with people and stuff like that, you'll be surprised how many people will help.
Absolutely.
And assist as well too. You know what I mean? Because it's really expensive.
But what is that then? Like, right? And that's what makes being an artist, like, if you're an artist, and shout out to all the artists out there, but you gotta be strong and crazy. Yeah. Like, you gotta be in your, because think about how a creative mind works, right? It's like, I'm going to do this regardless if anybody likes this.
That's art in general.
That's art in general, right? That's art, so I'm going to do this regardless if anybody likes this, and I'm going to try to get money from it. That's delusional. Like, but you have to be delusional to a point, to almost a fault. Yeah. To force somebody else to believe in that situation. So as you said, like, building a team or finding the people, it's like, how? Yeah. It's like, how? Every move that I make is going to be wrong or right, and I don't know. Yeah. I got to go out there and live my truth as much as possible and be okay if it doesn't go, and then still be delusional enough to say, all right, well, my next one is going to be fire. Yeah.
So, like, you have to have the end goal in mind, but you really have to just be focused on the journey to get to the end goal. Whether it's good, bad, it's going to be ebbs and flows. That's kind of how it goes. But I think one of you guys said something before about like the business aspect of industry protocol and whatnot, right? I think the number one thing is negotiation. Being able to negotiate, because a lot of the times people mix up being liked versus being valued. If you're valued, you have a lot more leverage.
Say it again.
Yes, being liked versus valued. And that's not just music, that's just in life. There's a very fine line between the two, and you could get it twisted if you don't understand. If you're valued, you have a leg up. You're able to negotiate things. I just pulled this up because I remember seeing this interview. So 21 Savage, right? He had a platinum album before he signed his first deal. So going into a deal with that, they see the value, you're able to negotiate. Today, 21 Savage owns his masters, and he has a 70-30 split with the label, which is like unheard of. How many people have that type of split with their label? He gets 70, they get 30. That's just based on the value that he's built. And the negotiation, being able to negotiate that. Some people are in 360s.
I was about to say the 360 deals are still a thing, and that's kind of crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, so, and a lot of the artists don't even, they just sign. They're so excited. Oh, I got a deal. They don't even do the homework to see, wait, what am I signing? Like, and they just sign, and that's it.
But that's what industry protocol is, though, right?
And that's
what industry protocol is. I see this kid who's making waves. I know I got the money. The industry protocol in business is, I'm going to show him snatch him up, show him some money up front that he's never had in his life.
Oh yeah, a car, a chain, get him the watch to start out. You know how they do it.
And then
you know how they do it.
Build him up, and then lock him in.
Exactly. You're paying for all that
Building
stuff.
artists, bro.
Believe it or not, yeah.
And then lock him in. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what I was saying about episodes back about the change, like whatever you gotta do, and it changes your position in life. If that's because some people just don't care. It's like I have 15 years of music that I'm putting down now, but this $2 million that they gave me right now
I
is
got
saving
20 in my bank account. Yeah, like
it's
literally.
saving my
like,
moms and my kids right now, like so, or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like that's really the industry protocol. When I hear industry protocol, I hear make the most money, give you the least. That's it, and it goes back to negotiations, like you said. You know, Russell,
Russell, yeah.
he could have been signed how long ago? And has interviews where he's talking about how he's having these label feuds
Shows
with
in
him.
his backyard,
Shows
charging people, you know,
Right, but I'm talking
100
about the
per
label.
tickets.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But the label feuds too, like labels are coming to him and saying this, and he's like, I'm not doing that because it doesn't help me, it helps you.
But see, I'm not gonna say artists are waking up now to that point, but I think once they realize it, it's already a done deal when it comes down to labels, right?
Yeah, true.
And now we're at a place where we can get the platforms to be real honest about it and talk about all of the stuff that's going
true.
on in the labels. And back then it was like, we
That's
never knew
true.
what happened to the artist. It's like, okay, he was out or something, and then all of a sudden it's like, where did the artist go? You know, things like that. Now it's like the artist can sit here and tell you, no, this was my deal. This is what took place in my deal.
Yep.
And this is how I got screwed. You know
That's
what I mean?
true.
And it happens pretty much too late, or by the time you sign your rights and your likeness for 8 to 10 years. And that was like the 360 deal as well. It was like, all right, cool. MP3s are coming out. We don't know how to do this and the third, so we're gonna take more because of MP3s. So who's to say now what kind of deal you're gonna get with a record label? Because it ain't MP3s. It's streams. It's all this other stuff now that they're gonna try to figure out how they can monetize and get their bread from it. So now what does a deal even look like?
And that's a good question, because now it's like,
Because everybody want to be independent now because they are understanding or recognizing the BS that goes behind it, but then they're saying it now to other people. And
it's
everybody
starting
else
to-
is like, that's what's been going on, like, this
And
whole
then you got-
entire
and
time.
then you got
And here
people
I am
like-
trying to be an artist, and I ain't got 125 to 150K to do this and the third, and y'all trying to get out y'all deal and stuff. So it's just like, what is the protocol now? Like, how do you, or what's the best way now?
I think
you know?
that's the best thing about right now, right? We should actually put on this episode industry protocol with like a Kanye shrug. Like, 'cause
I don't know.
we
Like,
don't.
yeah.
I mean, because it's in what you're saying. I think because, and this is going. I think Henny appreciate this, is that it's that transition period now that we're like in. You know, there was that period of CDs, like MP3s, LimeWire, like, you know, and all this other stuff where the value shifted, and now it's like the deal is actually the 360 deal. That's the deal. It's, I know that music is not the end all. Before it was music was like, oh, you can be this major music artist. Now it's, oh no, you can be a personality.
Yeah.
You can be
Real
a host.
estate,
You
investor.
can be in real estate. You
Yeah.
can be
And we're going to take bread off of every
Every
single thing.
single
And
piece of
that,
that.
to me, is bananas. You're a record label.
yeah.
You are a
But
record.
we made you.
You're a record
But you're a
idea.
record
we,
label.
We made, you wouldn't have been
But then
here
if you're
without
going
us.
to take all that bread out of it, then at least give me some quality to where it makes sense. Because then you also
Agreed.
get a lot of artists
Agreed.
and people who, you want to give me this type of deal, you want me to perform, you want me to do this, and the third, but it doesn't make sense on my end.
Back to, and he's not.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna take lightness off of me doing
That's valid.
You're gonna present to me the cheapest commercial possible. You're gonna always get your percentage out of whatever that deal is. And it's like, okay, so if this is how it's gonna be, give me the top.
Yeah.
Give me my Pepsi
offers.
commercial.
Yo, so then that way, even if I have to do it this way,
We all can win.
it doesn't look
Yeah,
so
yeah.
crazy
I
on my
get
end when I
cut,
get my
you-
check. I'm like, oh, I don't feel like the puppet.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, do your job. If you're gonna give me that type of deal for a label, do your job. I think that's the biggest complaint from artists being with labels now.
Yeah.
Because if you get the major, like they're at a point where they are making bread than they weren't making when they first came in. Let's just be real. So labels will give, like you're making bread that you wasn't making before. However, at that tone, when you start realizing the bread that's actually being made, not what you're taking home, like the
Right.
bread that's actually being made,
Yeah.
then you start looking at your deal. Then you want to see exactly what that meant. Then you want to figure it out. And then now you want to be independent.
biggest one was that in that situation to me was, and maybe, and he can agree with me, is the Wayne Cash Money situation.
A few years back?
Huh?
You talking about from a few years back?
From a few years back was like, that was the last one I thought would have had a problem with a record label, like, or anything. It was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back to what you're saying. It's like, well, all this stuff was put in and we had no idea. You know, it was just like looking at it and going and saying, all right, well, we're going to take you, right? And you're going to book your own commercial.
Yeah.
You're going to go and do your own movie, and we're going to take it because you're signed to this record label.
Yeah.
And now that you say it like that, I've always thought it, but when you put it like that, I was like, oh, you
And then if the label, and then if their heads tell them, okay, well, this artist needs to get such and such done and cut. Like, we need some videos on him. We need this and then the third. They're going to go hire their cousin who they know can do video.
Yep.
They're going to go find a spot that they know they can just book out somewhere. And they're going to get the job. Like, I'm just saying, so I can understand the artists who are with a label just saying, bro, this ain't it.
For sure. For sure. And I think, like, when you do sign to a label, though, that's also, like, once you do that, it's like, okay, now these guys are representing me. And that's kind of where you get on that slippery slope, where they can present deals to you. You don't know what they're getting on the back end. You just see, hey, here's my cut. I just pulled this tweet up because I remember Meek was talking about this. So Meek, I don't know if he currently is with that. Actually, he's independent now. But Meek was with Atlantic Records. And when he got out of jail, he said, I made Atlantic Records over hundreds of millions of dollars. And let me take, so he said that he brought them $100 million. And then he said when he got out of jail, they told him he can't drop music until 9 months after his last album. He feels like he's blackballed, and he feels that, you know, that's a setback in his career. I can't tell you how many artists I hear years later having issues with the label. I feel like this is a constant thing. It happens a couple times a year where someone makes a big deal about it. And I think it goes back to the business and the negotiation, because from the start, there's a contract in place. There's a contract in place. I don't know his specific details. I'm not going to speak on that, but I'm just saying with any sort of agreement, there's a contract in place, and you need to have the correct parties looking at it. You need to know exactly what you're getting into before you do it, because a few years down the road, it's too late. You agreed on this. You signed. Here's your signature. You agreed on it. This is it.
And we forgetting about the other part too, because people will do this. Hold yourself accountable because you knew. There are situations where you knew and you said, this is the best thing for me at this moment. Why 10 years later, and I'm saying this to artists out there who know, y'all know what I'm talking about, 10 years later, you want to complain that this ain't it, but you knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, it boils down to it saying, look at it, think about it, long term.
Exactly. Not tomorrow.
Yeah. Not tomorrow.
5, 10,
long
15
term.
years from now.
At least look at it long term.
Yeah,
if you choose to do the short anyway, then that's whatever. But look at it long term. I think one of the ones that I thought was insanely dope was Drake's. Dropped that So Far Gone mixtape, the original one. Here comes Cash Money and YMZMB, and then you realize he got what? I don't know. I think it was like a 3 album. It wasn't even nothing major.
Yeah.
And he kept all his masters. And now he's OVO.
OVO sound, yeah.
So it's like, you know, just knowing that, and it's just the education. People, there are so many podcasts and resources out here of people who have been going through things like this, and you just need to do your homework and know what you want at the end of the day.
Facts.
I guess to wrap this up, I feel, and we all make some great points. I think, is there a protocol in this whole industry? I don't think so. I think music is getting into a very weird place when it comes down to what that is. I do feel like if there's anybody who's trying to be an artist or get into this, that you have to basically just sit down and find a way, because there's too many lanes now that's created to where you can go straight to consumer.
Facts.
You don't necessarily need a label, you know what I'm saying, to do X, Y, and Z. You can take your product, whatever your thing is, and go straight to consumer. So now that that's more prominent than it was before, you need to make that your main base. Like you said, people can get platinum records and stuff like that before they even sign. If you start building up a core base of people who enjoy what you're doing, you can sell that and make more money
the value. You're bringing value to them now instead of just having likes. Now it's like, oh, he's
you're
valuable.
going straight to them. You don't need the label or 125 or 150K on the radio if TikTok is like a new leverage of radio.
100%. I agree
To
with
where
that.
you get your music on all of those joints, and you know what I'm saying, and make the awareness kind of happen. So I just feel like there's so many more opportunities here for you to kind of make those things happen. So you have to sit down and figure that out. Because being able to go straight to consumer is to me the biggest thing now that's available.
Well, yeah, it's definitely that, like, for me too. I mean, to be honest, Russ and Mac Miller, you don't hear on the radio. Rest in peace, Mac Miller, but you didn't hear him on the radio. Russ is making a lot of money, and you don't hear him on the radio because they figured out how to work to that straight to consumer.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, I mean, I can say white privilege too at the same time, but that's another episode. But just overall, it's like what you said.
Yeah.
I think that the industry is in a weird space when it comes to music, and the value of music is light.
But you have to put it on. It's the artist's job now to put that value on themselves.
Yes.
So it's like, even if I come out with another album, and let's just say I want to put my album on vinyl, or if I'm only going to make it an exclusive, like maybe 100 copies or whatever.
Or like Tory Lanez.
Yeah, and it's
Those are bag.
and use it at a price range to where I know I've already built up a fan base. I know my fan would pay this amount for my record. Let's say you price the record for maybe $20 a record. 20. There's some artists that did it for like 100.
I was gonna say more than that.
More than
Yeah,
that. But I'm talking about more like independent, like me. You know,
I've seen higher. I think I've seen thousands. I've seen thousands.
Don't ever go out there and be like, yeah, I got a new project. I'm an independent artist. I'm the first thing out the gate, and it's $100 for 2 songs. Like, don't do that. But just put, people can then put certain price markers on what they're selling and things like that, and start building it up and bringing money back into your business to then do more creative stuff. And
I think that's, you answered it. I think that should be the protocol for any new artist now. Build your brand, use your brand just like a business would. You go out there, you sell your product. When you get back, you reinvest into yourself, and you keep rinse and repeat until you can go to these labels with a value and then force their hand.
Absolutely.
I think that should be the protocol, bro. You cracked the code.
No. Just opinions, bro. Just opinions, man. But yeah, okay, so this wraps up this episode of Artists for Artists. Again, this is James. I got my boy CJ and Henny with me. And stay tuned for the next episode.
Yes, sir.
If you're loving the show, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your go-to platform. Stay tuned and stay connected. Catch you on the next episode.